What's up, everybody, and welcome to No Collar Gaming, and this is coverage of Potluck League. This is the first year, and we are going to be looking into some of the teams that have been dominating, some of the teams still fighting for a spot, and also some of the lower down teams to see what's going on over there. So let's jump right into it. Alright, so we are going to start in the AFC. Starting with the AFC West, we have the Chargers led by Coach Ian. So far in a tie with Coach Cody for the division lead with an 8-5 record. The Raiders and the Chiefs are going to have to wait till next year probably, unless there is an implosion on one of these two teams. So far, you can see that the Broncos have just barely been holding on. 37 points for, 310 points against. That's not a huge margin, whereas on the other side, still a pretty big margin, but they've all been low-scoring games, it looks like. Ian's averaging about, we'll say, a little under 30 points a game, so 29, 30 points a game, whereas his opponents are averaging 24 to 25. So far, Coach Ian is on a little skid, but hopefully he can rebound soon. Otherwise, the Broncos may just catch him and overtake him for the division title. Over in the AFC South, we have another dominant team in the AFC as the Texans have been on fire lately. 120-point margin between them and their opponents on a 3-game win streak. They have been absolutely incredible this year, and we will see if they can take it all the way. It does not look like the Titans or the Jaguars will be able to catch them, but when we take a look at the wild card, maybe we'll be able to see if one of them can sneak in. On the very bottom, we have one of the worst record teams in the league, Coach Alex's Colts, who will be featured later on the show. 3-10. Only a 20-point margin of difference between him and his opponents, though. He hasn't been getting whooped, but we're going to be talking with him later. Actually, we have a quote from him later on what his plans are for rebounding from this season. Over in the AFC East, the Patriots are leading the division, if you can say that. 6-7 record, leading their division. They may get into the playoffs when other teams that are 9-5, 9-7, 10-6, even 11-5 might miss the playoffs. They might get in just based on their weak division so far. The Patriots have been outscored by 100 points overall by their opponents. You have a 160-point difference between the Jets and their opponents. You have a 80-point difference between the Bills and their opponents. And you have a whopping 200-point difference between the Dolphins and their opponents. This division seriously needs some help here. And who knows what's going to happen in the future with the fact that Brady might retire, that the Jets have a young defense, maybe they can get better. The Bills, the Ryan brothers, what's going on over there? And the Dolphins, well, they've been a train wreck for a while now, and it's really just been waiting to come to a head. And now all their stars are getting older, and we're going to have to see how they rebound. Last but not least, we have the AFC North, where the Steelers have already clinched. And I believe they've clinched the bye as well, with a 13-1 record and a 140-point difference between them and their opponents. They are definitely looking like the dominant team in the AFC to beat for the championship, and they will be featured later on the show with a direct quote from Coach Raul, who has been with Potluck for about a year now, and one of our original users who is still exhibiting dominance. He always has, but now he is still exhibiting dominance even with the new game. So we will be featuring a quote from him later, and hopefully the Bengals, they should have that wild card spot locked up, so they will have their chance in the playoffs. But unfortunately, they could not overtake the Steelers. Jumping over to the NFC, the Vikings have clinched a playoff berth with a 9-4 record, with a 100-point difference between them and their opponents. But the rest of their division is looking beat up. The Lions with 110 points difference. The Packers only have a 14-point difference, though, so they have had a lot of close games or a lot of blowouts on both sides. And the Bears bringing up the rear with a 2-11 record. Hopefully they can turn it around in the draft this year and make something of their team and make this a little more competitive of a division, because right now it is the Vikings division. The NFC East is our next stop, where we have a thriller for the lead, for the division lead. Cowboys and Redskins, both with 4 losses. Cowboys have yet to play their game. They play a little later today. And if they win, then they stay tied for the division lead. And it may come down to a division record to decide who goes to the playoffs and who possibly goes home. Going over to the NFC West. Really black and blue division. Yours truly, obviously, is in it. The Cardinals have been balling this year. They have only recently lost 2 games. They started out, I believe it was 8-0, just annihilating people with the probable MVP, definitely a top 5 contender for MVP. David Johnson has been going insane. Then you have me with the Seahawks at 9-5. It's been a rougher year than I expected, and now with the 2 injuries I suffered in my last game, this is going to be tough. Hopefully I can squeak my way into a wild card spot and maybe make a run at this thing. The Rams, 7-7. Now they are a tough team. I just faced them myself, and if you take away that 30, I think it was a 30-point difference in our game, which a lot of it was based off turnovers and fumbles and stuff like that, a lot of things going my way, they are basically even with their opponents. So they have had a lot of close games. They are just destined to be a force in the NFC West, and we will see what happens with them in the future. Maybe we will talk to their coach around draft time. 49ers. 4-9 this year, but not necessarily a bad team. So hopefully they have a lot of young talent, so hopefully the coach can do something with them, turn them around, and make them credible in the NFC West again. And over in the NFC South, we have another close division. The Panthers are officially out. The Falcons are officially out. But the Saints and Buccaneers, it is still anyone's division. So the Saints are on a 2-game losing streak. They were in firm control of this division just a few weeks ago, and then they started sliding. So the Buccaneers have a chance to catch up. They need the Saints to lose at least one more game to have a shot at getting into the playoffs. Alright, so now we're going to look at some of the stats so far in the league. We have Andrew Luck leading in passing yards with 4,749. He is now on the Cleveland Browns, which we will discuss later. Ben Roethlisberger is bringing up second with Drew Brees third. Heading over to rushing now, like I said, David Johnson is, if not the definitive, in the discussion for MVP with 2,746 yards, shattering the regular season record with 3 games to go, averaging 7 yards per carry with 26 touchdowns, averaging almost 200 yards per game, 7 fumbles, but that doesn't really matter when you're hitting 200 yards a game. So he is leading with Gio Bernard and Todd Gurley backing him up with 1,500 and 1,300 respectively. On the receiving end, we are going to go off catches here. The favorite target of the Colts has been Philip Dorsett averaging 18 yards per reception with a total of 79 receptions and 1,464 yards and 9 touchdowns. Jordy Nelson, number 2, also with 79 receptions, 1,052 yards, 13.3 yards per reception, and 11 touchdowns, with Brandon Cooks, number 3, 1,190 yards, 78 catches, 15 yards per catch, and 9 touchdowns. Tackling leaders, we have Malcolm Smith bringing up the head of the pack with 108 tackles, along with Derek Johnson from the Chiefs, both with 108 tackles, 3 sacks for Malcolm, no sacks for Johnson, but 7 picks for Johnson and 3 picks for Malcolm. Sam Barrington, number 3 on that list with 105 total tackles, and Nate Irving with 98. Leading in the sacks category, we have, of course, none other than J.J. motherfucking Watt. Excuse me. With Michael Bennett from the Seahawks bringing up the tail with 14 sacks. J.J. Watt is leading with 17 and a half with 2 games left. Whitney Merciless with 13, meaning that the Texans have one hell of a pass rush this year. Leading in the interceptions category, we've seen a pretty large drop-off, honestly. I am used to last year in 16, you would see guys with 15 to 20 interceptions yearly. That is not the case here. We have Vernon Hargraves, the rookie from the Tampa Bay, bringing up the top of the list with 9 interceptions for him. Has to be in the conversation for Defensive Back of the Year. Casey Hayward, number 2, with 8 interceptions. Also, 117 interception yards, 14 per interception. Josh Norman, number 3 on that list, with 7. So we're looking at the kicking percentage to see the best kicker. I'm going to go with you had to kick at least 10 field goals to be counted. So it's Caleb Sturgis. Unfortunately, you are not leading the pack. So our number 1 kicker in percentage is Connor Barth with 13 of 14 made with 92%. Sebastian Janikowski, number 2, 18 out of 20. That's a 90%. And Matt Bryant is tied with him, 18 out of 20, another 90%. The punting leaders inside the 20, Marquette King and Thomas Morstead tied with 11 punts that landed and ended up inside the 20, pinning their opponents into good field position. Matt Darr, number 2, with 10 of them, and Colquitt and Pinion from the Niners and Chiefs, bringing up the 3rd place spot, tied for 9. The best kick returner in the league, the best kick returner of the year, again, I would say you have to have more than 10 kick returns to be considered. So I'm sorry, Jerome Simpson and Des Bryant, you are not the leader. We have Lamar Miller with 11 returns, averaging 31 yards per return and a touchdown. Running back, receiving back, and kick returner, Lamar Miller can do it all for the Texans. Number 2 is Bruce Ellington from the Niners, averaging 30.9 yards per return, 1 touchdown, and 95-yard long. And 3rd, we have Darren Sproles, a career kick returner, as well as a great 3rd down passing option running back, averaging 30.4 yards per carry with a touchdown with a log of 105 yards. He must have caught that on the line. That must have been line-to-line touchdown. So those are your top kick returners in the league. Your best punt returners, again, over 10, please. Jeremy Lane, if you watched my last game, had that one. I subbed into a cover 2 defense because I did not believe that he was going to kick the punt, and he did, and he punted a line drive to Jeremy Lane, who ended up taking it for a touchdown on his only punt return of the year. Just want to point that out. But he is not the leader in the punt returners. Neither is Keith Marshall. Neither is Tyler Lockett. Our leaders in the punt return category is first Deshaun Jackson, of course, averaging 16 yards per return with 2 touchdowns on the year. Cordell Patterson, not too far behind him with 15.4 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then third, Gio Bernard, averaging 13.5 yards and 1 touchdown. So as a team, total offense so far in the league, leading is the Saints with 5,660 yards of total offense, averaging 32 points per game. Number 2 would be the Steelers with 5,579 total yards of offense, averaging 30 points per game. 38 passing touchdowns, 15 rushing touchdowns. The Cardinals, number 3 on that list, 5,466 total yards. The only team probably on this list whose rushing yards outweigh the passing yards by 1,000, almost 1,000 yards more rushing than passing do the Cardinals have. David Johnson is for real, along with that offensive line. So for defense, we're going to sort by points because you can move the ball all you want, but if you can't score, it does not really matter. So, number 1 in the league, yours truly, with 240 points allowed, is the Seattle Seahawks. 2,770 passing yards allowed, 1,342 rushing yards allowed. Not the greatest yards allowed, wanted, but in charge of not letting the opponent get into the end zone. The Bengals are number 2 with 252 points given up, 802 rushing yards, 3,306 passing yards given up. Second best defense in the league is the Cincinnati Bengals. The third best defense in the league is yet again the Arizona Cardinals with 273 points allowed, 1,477 rushing yards allowed, and 3,259 passing yards allowed. The third best defense in the league, giving up points. Now we're going to look over here in the sacks category where we have the Texans leading the way with 51 sacks, the Broncos second with 42, and the Bengals with 41 at third. Fumble recoveries, we have the Titans leading the way, experts at knocking the ball out of their opponent's hands with 19 fumbles, 18 for the 49ers, and 17 for the Texans. That defense, it must be terrifying, and it causes turnovers. Interceptions leading the way far and away is Bengals with 37. Number 2, there's that name again, the Arizona Cardinals with 31, and the Redskins with a total of 30. So who's the best team on third down? Well, I'll tell you right now, it is the New Orleans Saints with a 55% chance of converting on third down, with the second being the Pittsburgh Steelers and the third being the Cincinnati Bengals. Coach Raul does not get stopped on third down. The Saints were controlled by the computer most of the year, so that tells you exactly how tough the computer can be. And the Bengals, number 3 on the list with 53 fourth down conversions. The 100% goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. All 3 times that they have gone for it, they have converted. I am not having a minimum times you had to go for it on this because fourth down should not be used that much. But what's important is how often do you convert when you go for it. And the top 3 teams did it under 10 times. Bengals 3 for 3, Cowboys 7 for 8, Broncos 6 for 8. 2-point conversions. 2-point conversions go to the Niners, Redskins, Cardinals, Jets, Saints, and Buccaneers, who have converted every single attempt at 2 points. Here we go to red zone efficiency. The most efficient team in the red zone, if they get inside that 20-yard line, they are going to score, is the Washington Redskins, with a 90% chance of scoring as soon as they hit that 20-yard line. The Raiders are second in the league with 89%. And the Cardinals, again, number 3 with 85% chance of getting some kind of points as soon as you hit the 20-yard line. So now we switch over to red zone defense. The Seahawks lead the league, yours truly, thank you very much, with a stingy goal line defense. If you get into the 20, nothing is guaranteed, because 57% of the time they will allow you to score. 43% of the time you get into the red zone against the Seahawks, you will not score on them. That is a stingy defense when there's not a lot of room left. The Cardinals, of course, number 2, only 1% behind me, with 58% allowing of scores in the red zone. The Bengals, number 3, with 63%. Also, some other notables here. The Jets are not far with 64, 65, 67, 69. All these 60% is absolutely ridiculous, because I would think on average, if you make it to the 20-yard line, you should be able to score 3/4 of the time, which is right around where these guys are. But these other defenses under 60% are stingy at best. The turnover difference battle is probably going to be won by the Arizona Cardinals with a 27 plus 27 differential in the turnovers, with only 19 giveaways on the year, 4 of them fumbles, 15 interceptions, and 46, Jesus Christ, takeaways, with 31 interceptions and 15 fumble recoveries. The Texans are right behind them with a 25 difference, and the Bengals with 20. So going on to our featured interviews, we started with the Steelers, talking to Coach Raul, and we asked him, after having a huge start to the season, it looks like the Steelers are well on their way to a deep playoff run. Is there any part of your team you need to work on to secure a Super Bowl, or are you guys ready to go? And Coach Raul replied with, we really need to get better at kicking the ball, not taking anything from the Colts, because they played hard, but we missed 2 field goals and extra points, and that is why we lost. Speaking of the one game that they did lose in overtime to the Indianapolis Colts, who are 3-10 on the year. A big upset in the league. So from Raul, apparently they need to work on kicking, and so far I'm guessing they dropped their original kicker, and their new one, Chris Boswell, is 75% effective so far. That number needs to go up to secure a Super Bowl run. So we moved over to the Arizona Cardinals in the desert and asked them, Coach, you clinched the playoffs with the best record in the NFC. Is there anyone standing in the Cardinals' way for a long-awaited championship? Coach Morales answered, if I had to name one team, it would be the Redskins. They had our number on defense, and Matt Jones scorched us. But that being said, the team we have now, the MVP, David Johnson, and with Darrell Washington coming back from injury just in time for the playoff run, the Cardinals are going to be the toughest NFC team to beat. Protect the nest, rise up, Red Sea. Plenty of confidence coming out of Arizona. We will see if that is warranted tonight when they face off against their bitter rivals, the Seattle Seahawks. So, last but certainly not least, kind of. I mean, he is 3-10, so maybe he is the least. I don't know. But we asked the Colts coach, Alex, after trading arguably your two top players in Andrew Luck and Vontae Davis, what direction are the Colts heading in, and are the playoffs on your mind? Also, is Nate Sudfeld, the rookie starting for him, the future of your organization? Coach Alex responded with, we are in a rebuilding process heading into the offseason with a lot of freed cap and high draft picks. We have our eyes on a few players, including QBs, wide receivers, and corners. Without a doubt, we will be a playoff contender next year and hopefully push for a shot at the championship. So there it is. The Colts believe that they are making the right moves for their team to give them the best chance at a Super Bowl. Only future will tell if that is true. Alright guys, that will end it for me here today. Here are your power rankings for the playoff runs: Steelers, Cardinals, Bengals, Texans, Vikings, Saints, and the Cowboys. We'll see what happens in a deep playoff run. Who will make it? Who will go home? Only time will tell. Make sure you tune in to Potluck League every week for updates and stream videos of the Seahawks, and also updates on some of your other teams to see if maybe they can't be a dynasty in real life. Maybe they can be one in Potluck. Thank you for joining me. This is Matt. I'm out.